Hi, friends. Welcome to Create Your Own. I'm Miss Wendy, and this week we have a topic that's very near and dear to my heart, and it's a very unique time as we are taking part in something that has never happened before in history. That's right, you are a part of history that's happening right now. It is unfolding, everything that's been happening during this whole year. It's been a pretty heavy year, hasn't it? We've had a lot of changes and a lot of things that you know, they just aren't the same anymore. But how important will it be for us to capture all of this that has happened into a neat little package that in years to come from now, we can come back and look at it, almost like we're writing a history book. It is so important for you, all of us, to have our voices heard and be able to explain how we viewed what happened during our COVID history. So, I'm going to give us some ideas and different projects of things that we can do as individuals, in our own households, among our own families, to jot down our part of history. So, how would you do this? Well, in all sincerity, observations are the hugest piece. So, any kind of observation that you might have, you can jot it down into a journal. You could use, I don't know, here's my COVID history, my smartphone. I have been taking pictures all along of my family and different things that we've been doing, different things that I've seen around my world in my little community of what's been happening that might be not the ordinary, not what had normally happened in pre-COVID times. So, how would we do this? Let me give you a bunch of ideas. We can do this by writing a news story with our family. So, any news reporter would have to interview their people, right? And get the information and get the facts. So, maybe jot down a handful of questions. And when you jot down those questions, think about things like what has changed? What surprised you? What made you feel worried? And did you learn anything new? So these are little things that you can do. You could use a device and capture it on a video. You could jot it down in a journal, or you could have a survey be conducted with any of your family members. Interviewing that parent or a caregiver of someone could be a great way to get a different insight and different perspective of how their world might have changed or might have looked different. And that is going to be a part of history. So other features that we might want to capture are what was happening in the world. We had a lot of historical events happen, not only just in our local community, but also globally, also in our nation. So those might be things that you might want to capture as well. Whether that means you go back into a newspaper archive, you can always go online and maybe do a quick little printout to stick into a memory book of your own for writing your COVID history. How did it make your family feel? What were some things that you did that maybe you reflected upon? So that's all things that you can add on. So, as I mentioned, for myself, I consider myself a photojournalist. And I just took my cell phone, and as I saw things, I would take pictures of it. Or if I read an article, I'd take a quick little snapshot of that article, just so that when I look back, I'll be able to remember and I can tell the story that went behind it. So, folks, what we're doing here with Create Your Own COVID History is you are going to become the historical person writing that story about what happened in the time that you survived COVID, what was going on in your world. So, another thing you could do, and I know I'm throwing all kinds of ideas for you, and I'm certainly I'm hoping that you're taking notes. So if you haven't had a chance yet, stop the video, grab some paper, and start scribbling down some ideas of what you or your family might do to capture this time. I hope I'm giving you a lot of information, but and I'm sorry that this is a chitty chatty kind of a create your own, but it's such an important piece of history that we need to document. 10 years from now, when we look back at this time, what are we going to remember? You might remember in your mind, oh, yeah, everybody went running around for toilet paper. The store shelves were empty. I did school at home. We did Zoom. Miss Wendy didn't do programs at the library. She did it through YouTube or Facebook, right? So things are very different. We need to jot those things down. 10 years from now, when we look back, if somebody's asking us, what can you tell me about the time of COVID? What will you say? So another idea could be just taking different pictures or drawing pictures or writing down in a journal things that happen at different times of the day. Or maybe you might want to take pictures of things that you saw in your neighborhood. I know in my neighborhood, when I was taking my dog for a walk, I would always see pictures of rainbows in people's windows, and that really meant a lot to me to see that because it felt like we were all in this together. It had such an impact on me to be able to see that in everyone's windows, or that there were some children that had drawn messages in chalk on the sidewalk, uplifting, inspirational quotes. It was just so awesome to see that together we did that. Another piece that you could do is after you do the pictures, you could record your voice and explain and describe what it is that you saw in this time period. As I said, drawing or writing is another great way to document that. So maybe you'll decide that you want to get a blank journal. I know for my children, we bought blank journals back in March, and every so often we stop and we jot down a little something that we remember or something that, a funny story, something that maybe we had a Zoom boo-boo. The dog's always barking in the middle of my recordings, as you probably have seen here with a lot of my Manlius library events that I've recorded in the past as well. It's just, it's what we are. It's who we are. It's our history right now. It's what's happening. You could write a poem. You could sing a song. You can do so many different things to wrap up everything that you remember and know about what has happened during this time. You are the historian for this. So I challenge you for that. Maybe you have a memory box. I know we had a grab and go recently where it was a cardboard box and you decorated it and you write different things on a slip of paper and you tucked it inside that box. You could do a similar thing. Use that box to be your COVID history box and just jot down little memories or maybe newspaper clippings and throw them on into that box. And you could put it away and 10 years from now, have a celebration day and open it up and check it out. Goodness, I have so many ideas. You could create a timeline. So for example, you could start maybe in February, which was before our country found where we had to shut down and do things quite a bit differently and talk about, what different events were happening and then write it on down March, April, May, June, all the way up to our current month of December. Don't forget to add in all those celebrations that happened. Was it a family member's birthday? What different thing did you do for the birthday? You didn't have maybe the birthday party at Get Air, right? Because Get Air was closed. So what did your family do instead? Well, I know there was a lot of parades with cars and people honking horns. Um, what was it that you did? Did you do a reverse birthday party and drop off treats to everybody's doorstep? How about other graduations or different celebrations that had happened? What did you do for that? I know local high schools and colleges had done a lot of their graduation ceremonies virtually by recording them, one student at a time crossing the bridge with their cap and gown on. Very different. You need to jot these things down, all these different celebrations and different events. How about when a new baby was born? What happened then? Maybe you can describe that as well. So I'm also thinking there was events that were canceled. Maybe it was a family reunion. Maybe it was a wedding. Maybe it was your family's vacation. Maybe it was just you couldn't go to your friend's house. And that's okay. Writing it down captures that memory. And you know what? It helps to put closure to those feelings as well. So very important. Again, you're the historian. So something else I wanted to point out, which would be kind of cool, is you could do a then and now, and you could do in February, what did your normal day look like? Well, you got up, you got ready for school, you maybe had to quick eat breakfast, mom or dad drove you to school, or maybe you had to run down the street to catch the bus, and you went to school and nobody wore masks, right? I got my mask here. Nobody wore masks, right? How different was that? That now you come to the library in person or go to the restaurant or the grocery store or anywhere out in public and you're wearing a mask. So different. So if you did a then and now comparison, you could do, I'm using February because that in my mind is just about the time period before we had major shutdowns and before people started wearing masks and doing things differently, right? Social distancing and all of that. Hand sanitizer and all these extras that we never really thought about that seriously before. So if you do a then and now comparison, and now, now before I get out of the car, I have to put my mask on before I go into the doctor's office or the store. Make those comparisons. That's a really great place. And what might be also neat is you could make that as a picture book, or maybe you're someone who could design your own graphic novel and draw the little pictures and write the story with it as you flip through your book. Something else that might be kind of a unique perspective is if you distributed surveys. Now, the surveys could be really fun. You could do a top 10 of how to survive 24 hours, 7 days a week with your family. What's the top 10 things, right? Maybe it would be something that you could capture. What are some big numbers that you remember? Could it be the amount of people that actually now go to watch a live NFL football game versus what it was before? I think about that, the limitations of things. Or it could be as big as the highest number of COVID cases in your county. And so far right now, Onondaga County, 466 is the highest I heard. And that was just recently, like a few days ago. So maybe it's something like that. Or distribute that survey to ask people 6 words or less. Tell me, COVID. What would you tell me in 6 words or less? I know there's a lot of people that still say toilet paper as their first gimme. Hand sanitizer, loneliness. There's so many things that we can associate with COVID in COVID history. Maybe the survey that you hand out, and again, I'm not talking about you going out and visiting people face to face and giving these surveys. These can be done over the phone. These could be done over Zoom. These could be done over email, text, but asking people what are their quarantine must-haves, right? So there might be something that their house has to have to survive quarantine. I think chocolate was probably a big one in our house. Maybe it wasn't yours, maybe pizza, I don't know, who knows? I'm saying food things. Maybe it was, I know, toilet paper. Uh, but seriously, it could be anything like that. Some other things that I noticed that over the summer, we had a lot of people visiting all different places in New York State and taking little small day trips. And perhaps you have, a story or something to put together with that. And maybe it would be a way to, ask people, hey, check out this park that we went to as a family. It was pretty cool. And there's XYZ there. It was pretty easy to get to. It's, outside and you can do hiking, you can bring a pet, maybe, different things like that, like almost like a commercial for different things that your family maybe visited within the state when you were trying to find different things to do, different day trips that you might have had taken. And that might be helpful for other people as well. I know I'm talking about documenting the history of COVID, but really we could turn this around and make this something special too by, showcasing where we live and the great things that we have to offer here. Other ideas that I have. Oh, are you still jotting this down? All right. Well, I hope so. The best and the worst of distance learning. Let's be real here, people. Definitely distance learning back in March versus how it was this fall. There's definitely some differences there. I know there was times where maybe you showed up to class in your pajama pants and just wore a hoodie and said, I didn't even brush my teeth yet today. Kind of silly, right? Or maybe that could be the best, right? You didn't even have to worry about putting on shoes to go out the door to catch the school bus to go to school. So maybe that was the best for you. Maybe you felt like the worst was that you didn't get to see your friends. Those things need to be documented again, like I said, because in the future, guess what? You are the expert. You lived in this time period. So it's so vital and critical for you to jot down these things or record them somewhere, whether it's in a journal, by pictures in your own made picture book or graphic novel, again, you're the expert. And people are going to ask, really? What happened during this time period? Imagine yourself as a grandparent. Okay, really? It's hard to think, right? But really, think about yourself as a future adult and you have people over your house and you're having a little family gathering, or maybe you're having a picnic or some sort of celebration, and then the topic comes up of the pandemic, COVID, the year 2020. And what are you going to say? What will your history say? Won't it be spectacular if you can go right into your drawer and pull out your COVID journal or maybe your scrapbook or wherever you are documenting your COVID history? That will be magnificent. That will be spectacular. You, again, are that historic person. You're living in this moment. So, you know what? I know this has all been pretty heavy, but you could also showcase the humorous side of things. Like I kind of mentioned about the crazy outfits like that you wore to school. I know personally sometimes there's been times where I might be doing something for work at home because sometimes we have to do our work at home, and I might be in my pajama pants, but it's okay because I'm getting my job done. I'm doing what I need to do. But they were talking about different crazy outfits that you might be wearing, or maybe I know there's been times where I've been in the middle of a Zoom conversation and I've seen people's cats walk across the computer, and that's pretty funny too. Or maybe you hear a parent in the background pouring a cup of coffee and saying, "Hey, did you get your homework done?" Yeah, there's some funny things that might have happened. Or maybe you found a funny meme on social media and you could, take a picture of that and keep that aside too. Different digital trends. So maybe there's some different songs or games or different podcasts that you maybe liked or enjoyed during this time to keep your mind busy and keep active during this time of unknown. So what was your book that you read this year or this month or last week? Jot that down too, because it is going to strike a memory for you and it'll bring you right back to this time. It might not seem like it now, like that you'll ever forget any of this information that has happened during this time. But if you jot it down and you tuck it away and you look back at it in the future, 10, 20, 30 years from now, you're going to be really grateful that you took the time to jot down your COVID history. Maybe there's some different hashtags. Hashtags are a thing, right? In the future, are they a thing? Who knows? I'm going to spin this right back around to community connections. And I'm thinking about different things that had happened in my community that brought us all a little tighter, a little closer, even though we're social distance and maybe don't see each other like we used to. We do reach out to each other in different ways. And I'm going to encourage you while you're writing your COVID history, think about someone. Be in their shoes for a moment, whether it's a teacher, a nurse, a doctor, um, maybe somebody in your family, maybe a distant relative that you don't get to see anymore. Write them a letter and tell them why you're grateful for them in your life. It might be something that just might spark that smile. And so, as long as you're going through this process of writing your COVID history, you could take the time to do that as well. Something else that our family has done is we've been keeping a kindness list, and we're jotting down different things that have happened either to ourselves or things that we have done for others. There's been times where, you just kind of feel a little blue and you think, oh, this is the worst. And then you look back at that kindness list and you realize, you know what, there's been so much good that has come from this. We've thought a little bit more out of the box. For example, different programs that we used to run in person at the library, we're able to put together into grab and go kits, and then you're able to take them home and put those together at home. And sometimes we're able to connect together via Zoom and be able to share what we've created. And that's connected us in different ways. So there's been different programs that I've done in person here that, I've been able to reach out across the country. Some friends who have children who now can join my Jiggle Bugs anytime, even if they're in Arizona, North Carolina, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Ohio, wherever they might be, they can join me. And it's kind of cool to think about that. So that's a change that's actually been for a benefit that's really helped to connect to other people in our community and our friendship circles. So I want you to really think about the different things, as I said, with kindness. It could be that you helped to distribute food to different families that were in need, that you've helped your neighbors, like whether it's like mowing their lawn or in the future here, shoveling snow. There's things that you can do from afar that really they mean so much to people. I know garbage cans, pulling them up from the curb. Like there's little things, right? You could be doing all the time that really are fantastic. I had some friends, little friends, who shared with me that they were able to learn a new hobby during this time, and they learned how to sew masks. So they sewed the mask and they were able to share those with others. What a great way to spread kindness to others, right? And such an important thing. Or I have heard of schools and libraries who have used their 3D printers to print out face shields. Just incredible. So look at all the good that has come from this. This is another feature of your COVID history that you're going to want to document. It has really brought a new kind of way to our life, hasn't it? Reaching out to others. As long as I'm talking about reaching out to others, maybe send a postcard to a friend and share what it is that you're currently reading, or maybe a new hobby that you're picking up. And when you do send out those notes, I want you to be thinking about yourself as well, thinking about what your future self is going to be thinking about this whole time frame. And when you do that, write a letter to yourself that in 10 years, that when you come back to look at it, how did you do school? Maybe you want to talk about how different it was with seeing friends. Well, I know in our house, seeing friends means going on FaceTime and doing virtual gaming, right? That's how my girls are enjoying their time with their friends from afar. We've done driveway conversations where we pull up at the end of the driveway and we talk to the front steps, right? There's different ways to connect. So writing yourself a letter about how you did those things. Maybe writing some of the things that you missed. Um, and again, as I said, new hobbies that you might have participated in or learned. We've been doing a lot of cooking in our house. We've made different theme days where we maybe will say, today is going to be Greek, and we're going to make all the different foods that maybe we are learning about Greece. And it's been pretty fun because it's given us a whole new perspective, and it's given us time to be a family to do those sorts of things. So there has been some good that way. So that might go into my letter to my future self, is about the moments that I've been able to have with my family. So as I said, this all can be really heavy, and some people, even myself included, have been having times where, we're feeling up and down. You have to take care of self. Make sure that you're taking care of yourself, whether that's spending some time with a pet, because pets can really help you with that, or, reaching out to someone from afar. They might be feeling a little down too. If it gets really, really heavy, I do want to make sure that you reach out to someone, whether that's a trusted adult. You can reach out to myself here at the library. You can reach out to a teacher, maybe a pastor or a priest. But if it really gets heavy, or if you're upset or nervous about anything and it's really taking its toll, and you tell your trusted adult that and you don't feel like you're getting anywhere, there's a number called 211 that you can tell your adult that they can call and get help with guiding them to where to get some help, whether that's, anything that you need in your home, whether you're having other issues with financially, or it could be a mental health issue, anything like that. I just want to make sure that I end this conversation with you about writing your COVID history, because this time has been very heavy on all of us. And I want to make sure that you get that information as well. Well, enough with that. Again, create your own this week. Miss Wendy and I invite you to be the historian and write your COVID history so that 10, 20, 30 years from now, when we look back and people in the future are like, can you tell me what it was like living during the time of COVID? What was 2020 like? How did you survive? What did school look like? I hope that you used this video and you were able to stop it and started again jotting down notes and different things that you can do to make your COVID history be a part of future history. Thank you so much and take care of yourselves. I love you.